Hi, this is Shira Rubinoff. I'm here with Jayan Tharayil, Senior Director, GM Risk as a Service at PayPal. Jayan, pleasure to be with you here again today.
Thanks for having me, Shira.
Certainly, pleasure. So today we're going to talk about the importance of security built into any technology solution. And as we all know, it is critical for all technology solutions to have security built into their solution and not addressed as an afterthought, basically putting a band-aid on a solution, trying to figure out where the security should be once the solution is pretty much built out. Because that would leave gaps in their offering, making it more vulnerable to attacks. So Jayan, why would you say this is important and a critical must-do when planning and building out a payment solution?
Well, I'm glad you asked this question. This is very dear to my heart. So, look, it's basically like, do you want to build in, or is this an afterthought? And
Yep.
pros and cons of both. Let's talk payments, right? So the biggest advantage of having something built in from a risk mitigation standpoint as part of your payment stack is if you get the integration done right once, you're pretty much good to go, right? So single channel, single point of integration, get it right with all the data elements that you need to power both your payments as well as your risk stuff. And the biggest advantage is you only need to do it once, and you don't need to worry about time, dollars, or competing priorities to get your risk shop up and running post fact. Oftentimes, we've seen this with especially some of our bigger merchants where, risk in the past has always been a bit of an afterthought. People don't think about it till the loss numbers go through the roof. And at that point, it's like, oh, can you fire this up? And we take a look at the integration and we're like, well, there are all these other fields or data points that are critical for us to put our best foot forward from a risk eval standpoint, and we're not getting that. And then you start spinning, right? Okay, well, we need to put some engineers to it, punch a hole, get that data in, and that's going to take time. Meanwhile, fraudsters are not waiting, the losses are mounting up. So super critical to get this done on day one, right?
Would you say that that's an attack vector waiting to happen? Pretty much when, oh, let's stop and pause and try to put something in, they're lying in wait. Okay, there's that stop and pause. Let's jump in right there.
Yeah, look, fraudsters are sophisticated and smart. They do know that most big businesses are most vulnerable when they are getting onto new stacks and setups. This is pretty common knowledge. So they know when to hit you at your most vulnerable. Um, so it's absolutely critical to get this right on like day T minus one, right? Like you need to be ready with your system. The way we think about it is a single integration that lights up your payments, that has all the security and fraud measures built in, is what an end merchant needs, right? So you build it out in a way where your products can be flipped on or off by a merchant, a flip of a switch, some toggle on their dashboard, and that's huge. On average, if a merchant were to, let's say, integrate with a third party independent risk service provider, and we've played in that space before, right? The cost of integrating in terms of time, in terms of dollars, in terms of getting a new software component added to that stack, that typically goes into like months, sometimes quarters, depending on the complexity and the use case you're dealing with. So to me, time to market is significantly lower. You have fewer surprises, and you're putting your best foot forward from day one. So very, very important to have
Plan from the
integrated.
beginning.
Yeah.
Right. Plan from the beginning. Security is not an add-on. Security is a must-have as the product is being put together. Of course, certainly when it comes to payments. So we talk about, I talk a lot about the people, the process, and the technology. You could have the best people, you could have the best technology, but if the process in the middle, the glue, is not solidified between the two, you have a problem. So it all goes hand in hand in every security solution, as well as in every organization. You need great people, you need great technology, and as I mentioned, the glue that holds it all together. So understanding the needs and wants of your customer is very critical for the success of a solution to actually work. And when it comes to payments and the options of using payment platforms, people don't want to think about all the processes behind the hood. They want to feel secure and trust from every and any vendor they use. They don't want to think about the security has it been lapped on after. So can you please highlight some of the ways that PayPal has understood and addressed these human factor components of security?
Yeah, happy to get into this, right? So look, PayPal has been an industry leader when it comes to fraud and risk mitigation practices, infrastructure, products. We have some of the industry leading subject matter experts when it comes to risk and fraud with decades of experience and expertise, working on solving really different problems in the space. While we make massive strides in automation and machine learning applications, all of these are only as good as the humans behind the scenes that are setting these technology stacks up. And so when I think about the human factor, I broadly think about, there's one aspect of it, which is, okay, like what differentiates you from competing products in terms of your performance, in terms of, any sort of case studies, track record that you can show. Like these are things that merchants typically want to know. But the people aspect, I think, cannot be, it's not of any lesser value, right? So when I think about the human factor, I broadly think about three areas outside of the teams that build these capabilities, right? So you have a professional services team that works with the merchants to help with the integration of the payments processing stack and the risk product capabilities. And I think in the previous question, we just spoke about this. If you don't get that first step right, you're always going to be facing an uphill battle. So understand the merchant's needs, their requirements, their verticals, the regions they operate in. Every merchant is unique. They have sort of unique attack vectors. They have unique patterns in their traffic and how their data reacts to different seasonal trends. So there's an educational component of this as well, in terms of telling the merchants which of our products is probably the best fit for them from a risk and fraud mitigation standpoint. And this allows us to put our best foot forward, right? So that's one human aspect or human team that plays a very critical role in sort of educating the merchants, making sure we're starting off with our best foot forward. Sure. The second aspect, the second team, again, we're just talking about human factors here. Once a merchant is onboarded, we have some really smart data scientists, data analysts, data machine learning engineers that are fine-tuning our risk systems, customizing them to our merchant needs. They account for seasonality, new fraud attacks, vertical nuances, reacting to risk pressures like dialing up, dialing down, the aggressiveness with which we decline or approve transactions. These are hard to find in the market, very highly sought after by a lot of the tech companies out there. For us, these are our crown jewels, right? And then finally, once a merchant is considered to be steady state, we have a phenomenal customer success team that does ongoing servicing for our merchants, ongoing support, ensuring their systems, strategies are up to date, tuned up to deliver the best possible performance, speak with the merchants, try and see if they have nuanced requirements, changes to the products, and it's sort of like full circle. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Definitely. So thank you. And the success of any company is a track record they've established and the businesses they win and keep. And I know you've been really highlighting quite a bit of these different points as we've been going through the interview. But what would you say some of the highlights are of PayPal's success thus far?
Yeah. Look, our fraud protection solutions are built on our partnership with networks, issuers, acquirers, and more than 20 years of data harnessed from both merchants and consumers, over 15 billion transactions annually. So this, in my opinion, makes us one of the biggest risk shops in the world. Our merchant-facing risk offerings are relatively new. We've only been generally available for a little over 2 years, and in a short time, we've already amassed tens of thousands of merchants using our products, with performance benchmarks across both decline rates and chargebacks being pretty industry-leading. On our roster, we have merchants that are considered category leading in the food delivery services space, ride sharing space, vacation rentals, ticketing, among other categories. So by building our own risk mitigation systems in-house, which makes use of our two-sided network, 2 decades worth of data intelligence, what we've managed to do is lower our footprint on third-party services this allows us to be incredibly cost effective, and it shows in the margin benefit we are able to drive, which allows us to also provide the best possible performance to our merchants. I obviously can't go into naming specific merchants or specific numbers, but hopefully this gives you like a overarching view of the progress that we've made with these products.
Definitely does. And thank you very much for sharing all your wonderful insight with our audience. And as always, a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Shira.